Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Me's My Past, your YouTube's premier channel about all things women's football. And with the beginning of the Premier League season, we have also seen the ending of the quarterfinal series of the FIFA Women's World Cup here, with Australia taking on France and England taking on Colombia. And these are the things that we learned from those matches. Starting off with Australia versus France here, with Australia lining up in the 4-4-2 formation and France lining up in the 4-4-1 formation here. And this match was really even Stevens here. There was a lot of opportunities by both teams to go ahead, but unfortunately, neither team could really get the better of the other here. In the first half, Australia had the dominance in the possession and attacking opportunities, but France were defensively astute. They were definitely helped by the presence of Wendy Renard, who was just a calming presence, but at the same time, De Almeida proved to be the defensive general there in the defense for France, as she pulled out some insane blocks and saves to make sure that France would stay level against Australia here, such as her opportunity against Mary Fowler, who was through on goal with the keeper knowing to be fouled, but De Almeida made a very sensational tackle to make sure the ball would go nowhere inside the net here. But going into the second half, it would still be 0-0 to either side here. Australia still held the advantage because not only of the raucous crowd that was there on the day in the stadium, that was just a very beautiful electric crowd in my opinion, but also because they had the lion's share of attack opportunities even in the second half, and it's just unfortunate that they weren't able to get themselves through on goal. And it's the same situation for France. As much as France were sitting back and defending the majority of the game, they had some very good opportunities themselves to go on the break and to shoot at Australia's defense, but unfortunately, just like Australia, they couldn't get themselves through on goal, and eventually the match would end 0-0 here. And going into extra time, it was more of the same, but it was a little bit more sluggish, which is understandable because the players were tired after what was a very physical and high intensity match here, which is a very stellar commendation of just how far women's football has come. But even after 30 minutes of extra time, they could not be a winner, and obviously it had to come down to the dreaded penalty shootouts here. Now France would be the first team to take their penalty kick here, and Bacha would be the one to take the first kick for France here, and unfortunately she would miss her attempt. And just to pile on the misery here, Caitlin Ford would step up for Australia first, and she would convert, and the pressure was definitely now on France here to get themselves back on level terms with the Australians, and Diani would do exactly that. And luckily for her, Steph Catley would step up next, and she would miss her own shot. And from this point forward, it just became a situation of mental chess to see who would break first. And that would happen in the fifth attempt here, where Perissette and Arnold would both miss their penalties. But then after that, the next three consecutive penalties for each team would go through, and then that would be broken again as Daly and Hunt would miss for their respective countries. And finally, it would come down to the seventh takes here. Betcha would go up first for France, and she would miss her shot, and then enter stage left Courtney Vine, who had to score to make sure that Australia would win. And she would do just that by dispatching her shot and beating the keeper to give Australia the all-important win and give them their first ever appearance at the semi-finals of a Women's World Cup here. Looking at the overall performance by both teams here, there really isn't much to say because they really did both get into this match and they left it all out there on the pitch, and it's just unfortunate that it had to come down to penalty shootouts for a winner to be determined. But at the same time, it just goes to show to you the intensity and the high level of competition that was experienced by both sides here, as they should both be proud of their performances and how far they've come with the Women's World Cup this year. Obviously for the Matildas, they'll be the happier of the two as they have advanced the semi-finals. They've done very well for themselves, especially in the absence of Sam Kerr, and they definitely look like they're going to go all the way to the finals here, especially with the huge home ground advantage that they have. And as for Les Bleus, yes, it is a very disappointing way to bow out of the Women's World Cup, but it is very promising to see their performances under Hervé Renard, who on such short notice was elected the manager of France, and he's done very well on his first major tournament. And it's a promising sign that when France come around to the next tournament, which will be the Euros for them, they'll definitely be a much stronger side when they have a lot more galvanization with one another, as well as Renard's tactics and plans. And definitely France will come again, and I think this time around they will be gunning for gold. And the final match of the quarterfinal stages of the Women's World Cup saw England take on Colombia, with England lining on a 3-4-1-2 formation and Colombia lining on a 4-1-2-3 formation here. And going into this match, of course, England were without the creative linchpin in Lauren James, who's serving a 2-match ban here at the Women's World Cup because of a stamp on Michelle Alozie in their previous match against Nigeria. But in the end, it was a very cagey affair between the Colombians and the English here, as it was a very entertaining match and highly physical, but there was really nothing to separate separate the two teams here. Colombia did have the lion's share of opportunities to go through on goal, and eventually their efforts were rewarded in the 44th minute after a golazo attempt by Santos gave Colombia the lead, which unfortunately lasted just 6 minutes into added time in the first half. Lauren Hemp would pounce on a loose ball to make it 1-1 to the three Lionesses going to the second half here. And in the second half, it was pretty much more of the same caginess here until the 62nd minute, where Alessia Russo would pounce on a loose ball that Arias just failed ever so slightly to control to make it 2-1 to the three Lionesses. And from this point forward, the game did get a little bit more entertaining, especially with Colombia looking for a winner. But at this rate, England just decided to sit back and just defend as if their lives depended on it. And ultimately, they would end up winning the match 2-1 after a good defensive performance. And of course, it does mean that arguably the neutrals' favorite, Colombia, have been eliminated. This was a very sad moment for me personally also, because I was a huge supporter of Colombia and their efforts in the Women's World Cup here. And I do think that in general, they are a very good squad. They've got a lot of youthful players that are going to definitely be at the next Women's World Cup. And they've got some veterans who might just be bowing out of the game very soon, like Catalina Uzme. But I think it was a very good showing by Colombia. And definitely when they come back again, they'll be much stronger. And I think they'll be going even farther than they have at this tournament. And of course, this does mean that the three Lionesses have qualified for the semi-finals, where they will meet Australia. And I think that's definitely going to be a huge test for them, because Australia have the whole team on deck, whereas England, again, they are missing Lauren James, and they were quite stagnant in this match. But I think they will use their defensive solidity to get through Australia's attacking prowess, and that could be something that will definitely be advantageous to them. But it'll definitely be something worth watching, and it's going to be a mouth-watering encounter here. And those are the things that we learned from the final quarterfinal matches of the Women's World Cup here. The semi-finals will be coming up soon, starting on Tuesday with Spain taking on Sweden, and on Wednesday with Australia taking on England. And it is definitely going to be two intense encounters worth watching. And of course, the final will be this coming Sunday, which will bring to an end what has been a very entertaining and good tournament. I personally think that it has outdone the efforts of the 2019 tournament. What do you think? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and please also make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.